Hi, everyone. My name is Victoria Main. I am here with episode 3 of TV and Film Focus. And I'm here today with Riki McManus, who heads up the Upper Minnesota Film Board. So we're going to talk a little bit about, let's start with just what the Upper Minnesota Film Office does and kind of what it's done through the years and in relation to the other state film agencies.
Great, thank you. The Upper Minnesota Film Office has been around since 1996. And it was formed, actually, I was on the board of directors of the Minnesota Film Board, and I moved up to Duluth and found that I was getting a lot of requests for looking for locations, and Mark Phillips, who is now IRRB, he was also on the board, and I said, boy, Mark, we're getting a lot of requests for locations. He said, well, maybe we should have a little office then. So we set it up. It's a public-private project of Northspan. Northspan being an economic development agency for the region.
Gotcha.
And so I could kind of work with their 501c3. I think they're actually a 6 now. Anyway, so that's really how we started. And so what the Upper Minnesota Film Office does is we promote our region to filmmakers in hopes that they bring their projects here. It's all about job creation. It's all about bringing a nice economic impact to the region.
Absolutely. And in your tenure, and you've been involved with that for quite a long time.
Yes.
A few decades. not to give anything away here, but
Thank you very much.
but you're an experienced individual in this area. And some really well-known films have come through here.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe talk about some of the films that have come through and how they reached out to you and how that worked.
Sure. Well, Iron Will, actually, we know the person that wrote the script, or was part of that project, and he went to L.A. And in going to L.A., being a Minnesotan, we filled him full of pictures and great spot for this,
Yeah.
and the people that he was trying to woo, they never really got the pictures, so they were looking at Montana and Wyoming, and finally, after Disney picked up the film, we said, can we have a shot? Can you at least come and look at us? And they were doing a lot of this, but we finally convinced them. And I tell you, when it all happened, we were up at Gray Salon, and this is after we took them up on the train up to Two Harbors and back, because, we have the era of trains.
Yeah.
We have everything they needed.
Yeah.
And so when we were in Gray Salon, and they saw the gold leaf on the roof and the most beautiful building, Charlie Haid said, yep, this is where we're going to shoot. It was Gray Salon that really tipped him over.
Wow.
So, that one was probably one of our first big ones. We did Far North prior to that, but at that point in time, I wasn't up here, but I did do the casting for it in Minneapolis, because I was a casting director in Minneapolis.
Okay.
And almost at the same time, we started The Good Son Up the Shore. And in one day, they went up to the Beaver Bay hardware store, bought $33,000 worth of stuff from the hardware store one day in the winter. So that's the kind of economic impact I love to see. Those are my favorite stories.
Yeah, well, and let's talk about that a little bit. As you well know, when a production is shooting here, they need everything from literally soup to nuts.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about how that economic impact sort of trickles out and what kind of stuff these folks need when they come to town.
Well, the one piece that I think is so important for people to hear is it really is an economic impact that affects Main Street USA. It's a lot of the mom and pop stores, from dry cleaners to antique dealers, because that's props.
Sure.
The restaurants, that's catering.
Yep.
So it goes so far out in that direction that so many businesses are affected when a production like this comes in. I know when we shot North Country up on the range, there was a little convenience store, and they were right out in the middle of nowhere for this shot. And I think they were there for about 4 or 5 days. But this convenience store, we bought just about everything off the shelves, and they had to keep replenishing. They've never had business like that. I mean, from the potato chips to the pop to the juice
Yeah.
to, you know, the ready-made sandwiches to everything.
Yeah.
I mean, we just went and just did this to the shelves and just put it in our boxes and brought it on set.
Yeah. Well, and you know, there's there's lumber needs and there's hardware
Oh,
needs
you
and
bet.
there's, like you say, dry
Yep.
cleaning and, all kinds of, maybe fabric buying and, all those
Absolutely.
kinds of supplies. So,
The lumber yard there, I think it's H&H Lumber, in Virginia, boy, they really saw a nice economic impact when
Sweet.
North Country came in.
well, and it looks like from, from everything as, I'm involved in the industry a bit myself. And
Absolutely.
so I see the growth happening and now we've got this, you've got an opportunity now to create a new production guide.
Yes.
And have an office for that and actually get that going. Let's talk about the production guide a little bit and what area that covers and what you're going to include in that guide to make it easier for producers to come here.
So the guide is going to be for cast and crew, and also a look at some of the locations that we have. When Catalyst Stories comes in October 9 through 13, everyone that comes in will get a guide. And there won't be enough time to take them up the shore and up the range, though we will do a few tours. But I want them to see that out here, it looks like the coast of Maine. And out on Park Point, we've doubled for Jamaica before, believe it or not.
Not today, but yeah, I hear you.
Temperature's a little different, but
Right, yeah,
and up on the range, you go into some of the abandoned mine pits, and it could be Mars.
yeah,
So, in the pristine forests, and what we have here is pretty unique. And I love like downtown Virginia and Biwabic, and each one has a different feel and a different flavor to it. But I know when people come in and see what we have, they're going to want to shoot here.
yeah.
So this guide that they're going to get is going to get them to that next step. Oh, they really do have crew here.
And this will be a guide full of photographs of all these?
Yep.
Okay,
It's going to be photographs of locations and also of, not photos, but information on cast and crew. So they see they don't have to bring everyone from LA or New York or wherever.
right.
We've got it right here. And that's the job creation I love to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got local production people, and
Yep.
you and I both know that there's quite a lot of them now, and that number just continues to expand.
Isn't that exciting?
Yeah, folks that are available to crew on these projects, and that guide is going to list, correct?
Yep.
All of those, and a variety of services, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's great. And I'm glad you brought up Catalyst Content, otherwise known as used to be known as Independent TV Festival.
Yeah.
That's coming here in October. So let's talk about what kind of opportunities that will bring and tell us what, about Catalyst Content.
So what Catalyst is, it's actually the largest independent television festival in the world. And it's bringing together the executives of Netflix, Hulu, HBO, also the Emmys, the folks that do the Emmys, they're coming, as well as the creators, the writers, the directors, the producers. So they have a chance to meet each other, talk, develop a relationship, and hopefully that will come to business. And we'll be seeing pilots, we'll be seeing little snippets of some of their shows, whether it's comedy or horror or you name it. And it's a great opportunity for them to sit down and have a conversation with each other and see what they're capable of as they see what's up on the screen.
Absolutely. So I know that the Catalyst Content Festival, being held here for the first time, the festival was born in LA,
Right.
moved to Vermont, and now they're here
Right.
because they have found good support here in Minnesota between the State Film Board and
Yep,
city leadership and stuff like that.
absolutely. I know Philip Gilpin feels very welcomed, and he wants everybody that comes here to have that same experience, and they will.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about a little bit. Let's let's be optimistic and say that this festival the festival continues to grow.
Yep.
This is our first year hosting it here in Duluth. Let's talk a little bit about down the road. I know that they have some plans in addition to the festival itself for some permanent infrastructure for around the creative side.
Right.
So let's talk about that a little bit.
You know, we'll be starting to have workshops, writing workshops, and actually there'll be a production school that will be teaching many of the jobs that would be available for the industry. And I think that's such an important piece too, because we want to educate some of the youth coming up about this business. And there's not a lot of that opportunity around. So I really see us as being the hub of television, Duluth, Minnesota.
Well, and we need to kind of get that pipeline going, right?
we do.
Where we have that infrastructure and we have
Yep.
your production guide will help with that.
Right.
So that people know what's available in terms of locations and people. But then we need to keep those folks coming through the pipeline, you know?
Absolutely, we do.
Kids who need to learn how to be a director of photography. And
Absolutely. and how to pitch your project.
absolutely.
You know, I think that's also very important too.
Well, it is. And, you know, these are going to be some very high-powered folks coming to town. And as you know, with all the new streaming platforms for content, you know, there's a need for a lot of content.
Yes.
Of all different kinds.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely, and so we hope to fill that void right here
Absolutely.
in the upper Minnesota region.
absolutely. All right, well, so we've talked a little bit about the different film projects that have come here in the past. Let's say it's 5 years from now. Maybe let's go with 5 years. It's 5 years from now, Riki.
Do I look the same?
You look exactly the same. You look marvelous. But where do you see the industry in 5 years? Do we have that infrastructure here? I mean, how can we make sure that in 5 years this festival is just growing exponentially and folks are getting put to work?
Well, I think in the next 5 years, first of all, I think we'll have a lot of opportunities as far as production that's being shot here. Because when you see the likes of the executives from Hulu or wherever coming in to see what we have, and you have the creators coming in, and they see that big body of water out there, and also right now we do have an incentive called Snowbait, and that incentive really is fabulous in the hopes of bringing production in. It's not really funded to where it should be, but I believe that the next go around it will be. And also with a tax credit, a transferable production tax credit. And that is what, when you take a look at Georgia, Georgia decided we need this industry. And so they have a wonderful incentive. And what it's done, it has brought them a $9.5 billion, as in a B, billion-dollar industry. We could do the same thing.
Absolutely.
And in 5 years, I could see us going in that direction.
Absolutely. Well, you know, I agree, and I know people are working on it. Snowbait is, just to clarify for folks, that is it's a
incentive.
producer's rebate, essentially.
right,
If they
right.
bring a production here and spend some money, they get a small rebate, correct?
Yes, they'll get, if they're shooting outside of the Twin Cities market, it's a 25% rebate on money spent in our region. So we also have another incentive on the Iron Range. And the Iron Range has a 20% film incentive if you're shooting in the Taconite district. So you combine the two of them, and that's nice.
Yeah.
It's very nice. However, what we have to do is right now we have $500,000 per year for the next 2 years, and it's not enough.
Agreed.
So we need to get that boosted up because it's only going to bring more money into our state.
Yeah. And I know that there was a legislative effort this year, and people were hopeful that we could get that number up a little bit.
Yeah.
And, I agree, optimistic that next year, once they see
Right.
see this activity starting to snowball. And I'm glad you brought up Atlanta and Georgia, and because that was one of the things that Philip talked about. Recently, they had a couple of meetings, and
Right.
one of the things he talked about was that infrastructure piece, and establishing all those things that help the industry grow, and what a great job Georgia did of that, and
Yes.
how we need to do that too.
Right.
And talk a little bit about what those steps are.
You know, it's funny because when I had Serena Catania, who is the co-founder of Sundance, and she is very supportive of this festival, and she's kind of Philip's mentor also, wonderful woman. But as she's looking around and she sees an empty storefront, both Philip and Serena are going, that'd be a good place for Equipment House. So they're already thinking in that direction, which I think is very exciting.
Yeah.
So the infrastructure, yeah, I'd say they're starting to talk about, okay, where would a good place be for a soundstage? I think the Armory might be a good place, don't you?
Thank you. Here.
But even up over the hill, that there are many options. Whereas in some of the big cities, you don't have a lot of those options. But because we do have wide open spaces up there, I mean, there's a lot of room for growth.
Absolutely. And it's interesting too, because, you know, one of the reasons they picked Duluth was because it had, you know, along with having a lot of big city kind of amenities, like an airport and, you know, theaters and stuff, but we also had kind of a small town friendly vibe going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a thing too.
It's a nice combination.
Yeah, absolutely.
And another thing that was very important to Philip was the support of the arts in Duluth. Because, I mean, for a town of our size to have the Minnesota Ballet and the symphony and the live theater that we have, and it's all very good. I mean, there's nothing schlocky about what we do here.
No, no, there's not. Well, and now the filmmaking community, the you know, the folks who want to make movies and television, they're sort of organizing themselves too. So we've
Right.
got the Arrowhead Filmmakers Co-op
Yeah.
now, that's starting to meet regularly and really figure out how they can assist in this process of layering that growth and getting people in.
Well, to me, it's so exciting that there is a group like Arrowhead, because as we have more needs in this industry, I think they are rising up to fill some of those needs, and that's exactly what I love to see.
Yeah, and that, you know, that's sort of, there's a lot of folks who will step up and sort of bring different pieces to put the puzzle together so that we can start to build the kind of production hub.
Right.
You know, I cite Atlanta as being, you know, an aspirational goal, you know, and I think we're more than capable of it.
I think so too.
And we've certainly got the leadership. I know that, you know, Mayor Larson is very supportive of all of it. And
Absolutely.
so talk about some of the support you're getting that way. I mean, who are the players that are going to make this?
Certainly Mayor Larson is a very important piece, and for the people that are coming in for this festival to see that kind of support from the mayor of Duluth. Anna Tansky has been fabulous with Visit Duluth in supporting the efforts, and that's been, I mean, without the two of those entities, I'm sure that Catalyst would not be here. But besides that, we have the county. We have St. Louis County. We have, looks like maybe Cook County, and Lake County, Iron Range Resources. I mean, they've all been very supportive, as well as Tom Hansen with his 3 restaurants. He's been supportive. Don Monaco. We've had some great support. It's nice to see people that believe in this effort, and they are showing us that in a very big way.
Absolutely. And the schools too. That's one of the things you guys, I know, are thinking about is, you know, getting the schools involved to
Right.
get those programs to keep those kids, you know, learning and getting
Yes.
excited about this as an actual livelihood.
Absolutely, and I would love to see a film degree program going with any of the universities. And I think that's kind of going in the right direction.
Think so?
I think so.
That's great.
Hope so.
Well, I don't know. Is there anything else that you want to talk to us about today?
Good question. I think the future is really bright for this area, and I honestly feel it's a game changer for us. I mean, bringing a whole new industry into our region is big. And it's one that's also going to put us on the map in more ways than one. I mean, number one, the whole world will be able to see a little bit more of what we look like.
Yeah.
And the locations that we have and how beautiful it is.
Yeah.
So for some, that's going to be fabulous. For others, they're going to go, oh, maybe we're going to get too big.
I know. Will film folks wreck Duluth? Will they make us jaded? And I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I'm not worried. I think it's going to be a great relationship both ways. I
It
think
is.
Duluth is going to grow. A lot of business. I think new businesses that we haven't even thought of yet
Right.
are going to come to exist because there's a need.
Yes.
And that's what happens when industries are new, is as things move forward, needs are exposed.
Right.
Right. Somebody's going to go, oh, this is what they need this. This is what we need to get to the next step.
Yep.
And so that becomes a business.
Yes.
And that's why the expansion that this brings is so, it's almost difficult to quantify when you think about it, because there's opportunities that we're not aware of yet
Right.
that will present themselves
Absolutely.
as this develops.
When you take a look at the Twin Cities market, I mean, the Twin Cities market has always had this kind of business going on. And you look at some of the sound stages available there, the makeup, the wardrobe. I mean, there's a lot of business like that. And, the Minnesota Film Board is doing such a good job. And Melody Bahan has been fabulous up there. And it's really because of Melody that all this started to happen when she met Philip. She met Philip at WebFest, and he was the keynote speaker. And he said, well, I'm kind of looking for a new home. And she said, oh, the Twin Cities market would love to have you. No. I'm thinking smaller, something more quaint. And she said, well, then I think that's Duluth. So that was last October.
Wow.
So it really is happening fast.
This has moved very fast. Well, and God bless, I love the Twin Cities, but I'm
Yes.
really glad they weren't what
I know, me
what
too.
they were looking for in this
Woohoo.
particular situation. All right, well, I think we've about covered all the great news, and there's a lot.
There is a lot.
And so I hope you'll come back as we go forward here. I'd like to have you back periodically.
Well, Vicki, thank you.
To
I'd love
sort
to
of
be here.
check in and see where we're at, and,
Sure.
and mark our progress and celebrate.
This is fun. And I love the celebration part, too.
Absolutely. Any excuse to celebrate. Well, thank you, Riki
Thank you,
McManus.
thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for watching, and tune in next time.